Okay, you are live.
Thanks. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Annapolis Board of Appeals regular virtual meeting for January 4th, 2022. This meeting is being broadcast on the City of Annapolis YouTube channel. My name is Bob Gallagher. I chair the Board of Appeals. This virtual format allows the public to observe the meeting through a video link and to submit written comments through the City of Annapolis website, links to the YouTube channel and the comment form on the city's website, as well as a database for information related to the cases that you hear about tonight may be found on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The people who you see on the screen are members of the Board of Appeals. When a case is called, the representatives of the parties to the case will also appear on the screen. Also participating in the meeting are counsel to the Board of Appeals, Cheryl Woods, our recording secretary, Kim Consoli. Madeline tonight is handling the technical part of the broadcast. Also participating, there may be representatives of the city, including Joelle Braithwaite, Assistant City Attorney and Counsel to the Department of Planning and Zoning, Jacqueline Rouse, liaison to the board, and one or more members of the planning staff. Looks like we've got Kevin Scott, Tom Smith, and Cynthia Gudenius with us tonight. We ask everyone but members of the board to mute their audio. If anyone else wishes to speak during the meeting, please raise your hand and I'll call on you to speak. Written comments on matters that come before the board tonight that were submitted up until noon today are made part of the hearing record and have been forwarded to the members of the board and the parties in advance of the meeting. In order to allow additional comments in response to evidence received at the hearing tonight, the record in each of the cases we'll hear tonight will remain open to receive public comments until our next meeting on January 19th. So comments received up until noon on January 19th will become part of the record and forwarded to the members of the board and the parties as well. Remind everyone that communication with the members of the board about any case by anyone other than a party of the case must go through the comment form. All communications by parties to the board must go through the board liaison, Jackie. No one should contact any member of the board directly about any case under any circumstances. So Kim, if you would help us out, we'll begin the meeting with a roll call.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes.
Dr. Chen.
Present.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
And Mr. Dews.
Present.
Appears we do not have Mr. Burnett, I don't believe.
Right, or Mr. Zazali.
Or Mr. Zazali. Okay.
So we do have a quorum, and that's terrific. So we'll take up the business for the evening. So have the members of the board present had a chance to review the agenda for tonight?
Yes.
Any comments or suggestions or changes?
No, I move the adoption of the, I move that the agenda for this evening be adopted.
For a second.
I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Dews. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That's one item taken care of. The next item on the agenda, and Kim will correct me if I'm wrong, is the approval of the minutes for December 7th. Have the members of the board had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Do we have any corrections or additions to the minutes?
No.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of December 7th?
I move to approve the minutes for December 7th.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The first piece of substantive business tonight will be a review of a draft annual report for 2021. Something we do every year. It's required by statute to be filed with the City Council by January 15th, I believe. And I mentioned earlier to those of you in an email that I thought it was the chair's responsibility to do that. I stand corrected. It's something that we do want to vote on. So Jackie circulated a draft of the annual report earlier today. I suggested, I think, one correction, that Chris Hazali was re-elected, not elected. And I also proposed an addition to the report that summarizes the comments of the board on the level of support that we've received from various parts of the city in support of the board's activities. I thought it was important to do that, not just to recognize those who have helped us, but so people know how important those jobs are to our work. And it also gives us an opportunity to let the city know, let the city council know if we think there are areas that could use improvement. So I'm happy to have any discussion that anyone would like on that, or if there's no discussion, we can move to a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I did not receive a copy of the report. I did receive the support language, which I have no comments on, but I did not receive the report. I'm sorry.
I
Jackie,
did
can
not
you?
either, Bob.
No?
No. I received your draft. I did not receive the report itself.
Oh, I'm sorry. So
I didn't receive it either.
that's my fault. I misunderstood what Jackie had done. Okay.
Well, why don't we, if we can circulate it, I suspect we could
Yeah, Jackie,
authorize
would you
somebody to
send
sign
that?
on our behalf.
Would you send that around to everyone while we're continuing with the meeting?
Yeah. I move that this item be moved to the end of the agenda.
Yeah, Jackie, Earth to Jackie. Let's see, maybe we can send her a text.
Mr. Chairman, I can take care of that while you move forward.
Great, thank you. Okay, so,
Second,
Oh.
Bob. Did you-
yeah, Michael, Nadine, and Rob.
Bob,
Okay, so the first application,
Mr. Chairman, I think Jackie is back with us.
is that true?
did you need me, Bob?
Yes, Jackie, I misunderstood your email with the draft annual report. I thought it went to everyone. And apparently
No,
it
I
didn't.
asked, no, I can email it to everybody right now.
Yeah, please do that. And we'll
Okay.
move that to the end of the agenda, take it up before we adjourn.
Okay,
Thank you. So our first case is variance 2021-007. Variance application by David and Maureen Kelly, property owners, for reduction to the required 30-foot rear yard setback to 14 feet for construction of a 8.4 foot by 12.3 foot rear addition that aligns with the rear of the existing dwelling structure located at 16 Franklin Street. So if we could ask Madeline to bring in, I think it's Peter, David, and Maureen, and was there someone else? Jay?
and Jay.
Jay, yeah.
I'll go ahead and start, Mr. Gallagher.
Please.
As said, this is variance 2021-007 for 16 Franklin Street. This property is zoned R1 and is in the critical area with a critical area designation of IDA, which stands for intensely developed areas. The applicant proposes to build about an 8 by 12 foot, 1-story addition onto the rear of the structure. They do need a reduction to the required 30-foot rear yard setback to 14 feet, which is the existing setback of the dwelling as it sits right now to the rear yard setback. So the addition is going to align with the existing dwelling structure. The property was posted with the public hearing notice is required, and the notice is mailed, and the newspaper ad placed, and there have been no public comments to date. So at this point, I'll turn it over to the applicant and their professionals if they'd like to discuss the project.
Who on behalf of the applicant would like to address this?
Dave, I'm Jay Schwartz, architect. Dave, you're muted. I'm happy to address it. Give the board, thank you so much, board, for meeting us tonight.
Let me remind you before you start that we have read the staff recommendation. We've read the application and the other matters that were attached to the staff recommendation. So we are familiar with this. So I ask you to just focus on the points that you think are most important, points that may have not been emphasized to the extent they should have been in the staff report, and that will move things along more quickly.
Thanks. I think that the staff report is fairly complete. I think if you have any questions for us, we're happy to answer, but I don't think that we can really add much to the staff report. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So let's see. And we heard there are no public comments. So questions from the board.
Mr. Chairman, just two quick ones. Mr. Schwartz, if you could just, for the sake of those who might be watching this, just on 2 points. First of all, if you could just address the uniqueness of the property and the seventh variable, the seventh element of granting this, which is that this is the minimum amount of relief sought. If you could just address those 2 points.
Thanks so much, Mr. Wallace. This is it's a shallow lot, and it's an unusual size for the R1 district off of Franklin Street and in Murray, that part of Murray Hill. The existing house sits back towards the rear of the property line already. So this is a little infill piece that matches the existing footprint of the house to the rear, and then to the north side or the east side of the house, there's a little cutout. We're infilling that cutout, the existing footprint. The side yard setbacks on both, we meet the existing side yard setbacks. We're not asking for relief to the side yard, and the front yard is against Franklin Street. And to try to expand into the front yard, we need a different variance. So this is really the best location for very modest 8 by 12. It's really a little infill to the corner of the house. And I think that's probably it. Thank you.
What is the square footage of the house to begin with?
I can pull that up quickly, I believe. I can pull up a drawing if you like. We're limited in the R1 to 30% lot coverage for structure. We also have a limit to the impervious. We're within both of those. The existing footprint, I don't.
2948 square feet.
I'm sorry?
2948 square feet.
That's the total house. That's not the footprint.
Okay.
Well,
So
that's fine. That's what I was interested in.
yeah, the total house, not the footprint. Footprint's about half. Thank you.
What else, Michael?
I'm all set. Thank you, Bob.
Does this project require any additional stormwater measures?
Nothing more than the standard measured by the city, fence, and nothing beyond the standard.
No, I'm talking about the treatment rather than sediment and erosion control.
No, sir. there's no
It-
comments from the stormwater management agents of the city that says
It-
treatment is required
It doesn't require a grading permit.
either.
There's less than 5,000 square feet of disturbance and less than 100 cubic yards, so it's not going to require a grading permit.
And
And therefore it wouldn't be subject to requiring.
and
new-
how close are we to the coverage ratio?
They're right about at their maximum for the R1 bulk regulations limitation for structures with this new addition. And they did meet their critical area limitation as well. So they do meet both of those.
Mr. Schwartz, did you look at whether there's any, you're adding some impervious here. Did you look at whether there are any places where you could remove some so that things don't get worse?
We're putting it on top of some existing impervious now. So we're not just increasing the overall. I mean, there is some increase, but there's some driveway and we're putting on top of some of that driveway. So we are increasing by probably 40 square feet is my guess of the impervious. So we've not looked at whether we can mitigate that specifically.
Well, it's a problem for everyone in the city.
Yes, it is.
Want to reduce impervious wherever we can, so we encourage you to take a look at that and see.
Will. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the
Can I
board?
make a comment about it?
Sure.
That's just, because I don't know that it's really pointed out on the, when you just look at our specific, all the drawings that were put in. We're a corner lot on Taney and Franklin. And our front door, we happen to have the Franklin Street address. We do have a side door on Taney. If, when this house was originally made, they gave us the Taney address, we would actually, I don't even think we'd need the variance. We do have a 30-foot setback. It just happens to be our side yard, which butts up to our neighbor's backyard. And then we do have the other 8-foot setback and the 15-foot setback. It's just that according to your, whatever rules or whatever, our backyard is our back driveway and it follows along the rest of the houses on Taney. Our driveway is in our backyard and it goes to our next house in. Our two driveways are right next to each other. And then that follows along that street. But if our front door was on Taney, I don't think we'd even need this. Like, we do have a yard and we still have, and what we're closing in, as Jay mentioned, is it's already an inset at the back of the house. We're not going beyond on that backyard, the kitchen. We're not going further into the setback. We're just kind of going back towards our 30-foot. We're pushing out towards the 30-foot corner there. And it's over, we're basically closing in our back porch.
Ms. Kelly, don't misunderstand me. Unless I'm not reading my colleagues correctly, I don't think you're gonna have any trouble getting your variance.
Okay,
I'm pointing out that there is a problem across the city with stormwater, and we want to get as much of it treated as possible. And we're asking you to consider whether there's some things you can do as you go through this project to make things a little better. That's
Yeah,
it.
we would consider that. I just wasn't sure if that was clear. Like, we're aware of that. We've lived here 24 years. We're very aware of that. Like, we're not just moving into town. We understand that and we agree with that, all those positions.
Okay. Anyone else have anything they want to ask or say? Okay. So we need to, because of the virtual format, we need to continue this hearing until January 19th, at which time we'll consider any public comments that might come in, and we'll go through our deliberative process. And we should have your answer for you on the 19th.
Thanks so much.
So
Thank
thank you all
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
And, the applicants and their professionals will be excused, and we'll begin our next case. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Yep, thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Cynthia, thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Okay. let's see. So Madeline, are you bringing in the parties to the next variance?
Yeah, I just sent the invitation. It's still only the one.
Okay.
Yeah, the other name hasn't shown up.
That's fine. One is plenty. Misplaced some of my notes here. All right, so we have Mr. Smith joining us on behalf of the applicants. So this will be a hearing on variance application 2021-009. Variance application by Nadine and Andrew Smith, property owners, for reductions to the side and rear setback requirements in order to allow proposed construction of a second floor dormers and exterior staircase on the existing detached garage on property located at 528 2nd Street. So I assume we'll be hearing from Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, if you wouldn't mind, do you swear or affirm, subject to penalties for perjury, that any evidence you give tonight is true to the best of your knowledge? Mr. Smith, are you on mute?
Sorry. Yes, I do.
All right, thanks very much. So, Tom, are you the point person on this one?
No, it'll be me.
Oh, Kevin, sorry.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Kevin Scott, Senior Planner of Planning and Zoning. The address is 528 2nd Street, and this is subject. The subject is a detached garage, and the applicant wishes to add dormers to the existing roof, which won't go above the existing ridge line, and a staircase to access the second floor. Right now, it's a vaulted attic that's unusable space in the garage, and they want to pick up some storage space. But in the setback requirements here expand as the height of a structure increases. And this existing structure with a height of 22 feet would require an additional 6 foot added to the setback. So normally the setbacks would be 2 feet on both the rear and side. So with the additional expansion, they need 8 feet on each side. The existing structure has a 5 foot setback on both the rear and side. So on the side where they're putting the staircase, they would be reducing the existing from 5 to 2. On the rear, there's no change, but the dormers add bulk to the structure. So the setback is reducing an 8 foot requirement to the 5 foot rear and a 2 foot side for the staircase. Note in my staff report, I have a typo in the rear yard. I said the requirement's 5 feet, but the requirement's 8 feet. If the variance is granted, they'll have to go through site design plan review for the R2NC district. Received no comments from the public on this, and the department is supporting the application.
Okay, Mr. Smith, is there anything you'd like to add? Let me remind you that the members of the board have reviewed the staff report with all of its attachments, including your application. So we're familiar with that. In the interest of time, we suggest that you address anything that you think may not have received adequate emphasis, or anything you think is particularly important for the board to focus on. So the floor is yours, Mr. Smith.
I don't believe I have anything to add, but I am happy to answer any questions if anyone has any questions.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions from the board.
I'll start off with a question. I'm also very interested in the uniqueness of the property that is addressed, that it is not, or that it is unique, but based on some of the summary, it indicates that it's very similar to the situations of other properties in the area. That's for Mr. Smith.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
The question is, could you expound on the uniqueness of the property, since that's part of the criteria?
Okay. So when we purchased the house, there is an existing garage there right now. It has an unfinished second level, but the only way to access it currently is a drop stair inside of the garage. Due to the ridgeline of the roof, unfortunately, the only place to put these stairs to get access from the outside would be in between the garage and the lot line, which is the unique aspect of why we need to apply for this variance.
Kevin, is there anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I can add to it. So this house, along with there's like 4 of them, including this one right on this section of 2nd Street that were built back in the early 2000s. And in 2005, the zoning code was changed and it added this expansion rule for the setback for the height. So this was legally built prior to '05 with legal setbacks at 5 feet. If it wasn't for this new at the time zoning rule, the 2-foot setback that they're requesting would have been the requirement. And certainly 5 feet at the back would have met. So it's because of the change in the zoning that caused them to need this variance. And it's unique that this is probably the only spot in the district that you'll find this grouping of 4 almost identical. You go down the line, they all have similar size detached garages with a shared driveway and garages to either side of the shared driveway for this grouping of 4, because they were all developed together.
Yeah, I think I share Rob's concern, and I went to the trouble of looking at a couple of different definitions of unique, and almost all of them say that the primary definition is that there's nothing else like it. It's the one. More updated dictionaries would admit a somewhat broader view of the term. And so it seems more like unusual rather than one of a kind. And where you tell us in the staff report that this is one of a few standouts, I mean, it sounds like you need to convince us that the broader definition is the one that should apply here.
Well, the broader definition is the way I've observed this board interpreting uniqueness, as opposed to the one of a kind, sort of like, it doesn't have to be a unicorn. It can be one of a few or rare to meet that definition of uniqueness. I mean, it's the history I've seen.
Other questions, Rob?
No, that's all I have, Chair.
Michael, Nadine?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure, Kevin, your argument with regard to the change of the code would mean that we would not apply to the code to anything that was built before 2005. The comments by Mr. Smith went to the building as opposed to the land. My question is, when I read the staff report and it talked about the shared driveway, can somebody explain to me why? My impression from the staff report was that that was a problem or was contributing to the need for the variance. If someone could explain that further to me. And then also for Mr. Smith, I understand from the report that the space above the garage is for storage. You answered one of my questions. You already have a drop-down ladder. I'm curious why you need dormers for a storage space and why you need outdoor stairs for a storage space.
So currently the garage is 24 by 24 with a Cape Cod style roof. So the storage above it currently without the dormers is very limited. That is why we're asking for the dormer, so that we can get more usable space above the garage. It's very limited as it is currently. As far as interior stairs, I've been told that the only way we can get stairs to the second level that meets code would be from the outside, because we wouldn't have enough headroom to do stairs on the inside. The drop stairs we have now are almost like a ladder. It's very steep. That is why we're
And so the ladder is insufficient to reach the second floor, which is being used for storage space.
Yes, I would say it's unsafe to carry anything up the ladder to try and get it into the small existing storage that we have now.
And so the reason I'm asking about this is I actually, in my garage, have the same situation. I have a drop ladder and use the upper level for storage space, and I find the drop ladder to be sufficient. So what is it about what is going to be stored that you feel the need for outdoor stairs?
So for our drop stair, I mean, again, it's almost a vertical, and then it's an opening in the ceiling. So to try to carry something, you would only be able to try to hold on to the ladder with one hand and then try to push it through the opening in the drop stair. In my experience, it's been very hard for me to store anything up there, because I'm scared I'm going to fall down the ladder with only using one hand and trying to push it through the hole.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Let me follow up on that. As you face the garage doors, the dormer the windows in the dormers are going to be on your right and left, right?
Correct.
And so why couldn't you put the stairs on the outside on the left side and use one of the window slots for a door?
So my architect, or my builder, had informed me that because it's the stairs are to go at the end of the garage, so the dormer is not going to go all the way to the end of the garage, so there wouldn't be enough headroom to get the interior stairs up to the second level. Because the dormer doesn't go the entire width of the garage.
So there's more headroom at the ridge line than at the
where the dormer is. There would be more headroom, but unfortunately, that's going to be in the middle section of the garage.
All right, we can think about that. But Kevin, help me understand something here. What would Mr. Smith have to do, or if he sells it, the next owner, to get this approved as an accessory dwelling unit?
I believe they would be able to convert it if they went through all the permitting to put in the proper utilities, bathroom, everything. They could be converted to an accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah, that was what I thought too.
So I agree.
So one of our criteria is that this isn't done for financial reasons. And we hear, Mr. Smith, that this is just going to be used for storage, but it seems to me it could just as easily be a setup for a step transaction to have an accessory dwelling unit. And the only reason for doing that is for financial gain. So have you or Mr. Smith considered whether it would make any sense to condition the variance on there won't be any future approvals as an accessory dwelling unit?
As staff, I haven't considered that. I think the only way to get a condition like that to really hold would if there was something restricted in the deed.
Yeah, but no reason why you couldn't record the variance conditions with the deed, is there? Maybe you need to ask your counsel about that. Mr. Smith, any insights for us here?
I currently have no plans to use this space for any financial gain. We don't have any current plans to finish it off at this time. I can tell you that I can tell you that right now we have no intention of ever. If you're talking about like renting it out or something like that, we have no intention of ever doing that.
So back to Kevin. So if it was approved as an accessory dwelling unit, is it eligible for short-term rental?
For what they're proposing as storage, it wouldn't be, but if they came in for some different type of permit to make it
if you had an
occupiable
occupancy
space.
permit, if you had an occupancy permit as an accessory dwelling unit, could it be rented out as a short-term rental?
I believe so. If I'm wrong, there's some other
That's what I
staff here
thought
that
too.
might
That's what I
speak
thought.
up. The thing is, everything that we do, people could
Yes.
maybe in the future do something different. We have to like take them at their word for what they're proposing. We can't just guess what they might do in the future.
I hear you. Jackie, what would you
So
like?
I just want to, in order to convert an existing structure to an accessory dwelling unit, in addition to meeting the zoning requirements, there are also building code requirements that have to do with making it livable
We
space
understand
that
that.
includes sprinklering the building and
Yep.
you know,
We
we have I'm currently just engaged with another applicant that has asked those questions. So and you do have to get a rental license for either the principal dwelling or the accessory dwelling. And you have to live in one, and you can rent out. You can live in either one, but you have to live on the property to have an ADU. So,
But don't you
just
have
to
to
clarify,
have
it's not merely just, you can't automatically convert an existing structure to an ADU. There are other requirements that apply.
We understand that, Jackie.
Okay.
Thanks. They'd have to go through whatever it takes to get an occupancy permit.
Right.
Right. And then in order to add they have to get a building permit to start with, because you have to add, in order to convert from a storage room or even a space that has a bathroom, you have to add kitchen equipment. So there's always going to be a building permit involved. So there's going to be a building permit review of the ADU.
We
Don't
understand.
you also need
Okay.
a separate entrance with stairs like this is being called for? Wouldn't that be a threshold requirement of?
I think there is a requirement that you have to have a separate entrance also.
So that would be satisfied should this be approved.
They would have to add, in this case, they would have to add, they'd have to add a staircase, yes. I don't think you can have a pull down stairs in an ADU, but
No.
that's something
No.
that would be reviewed as part of the building permit review for converting it.
But I mean, has the planning and zoning department given any thought to whether there's a need to avoid step transactions to get this variance?
You mean related to this specific application?
In general, if you couldn't get a variance because if you need to satisfy the financial benefit to get a variance, and you know that ultimately you're going to have an accessory dwelling unit, that means that you're doing it for a financial gain. So you divide the transaction into two steps to avoid that problem. And it seems like you all at planning and zoning haven't given that much thought, whether there's anything you need to do to stop that from happening.
That's certainly
They
a
haven't-
worthy
they haven't
topic that
given
we
us-
can discuss with, the director of,
Right.
planning
But
and
this
zoning. I
applicant
mean, we're
hasn't
just
given
now
us-
implementing the regulations, Bob, and, we have had to make several determinations about interpretations of aspects of the legislation. But that's a question that we can put to Mr. Malinoff.
Mr.
Chairman, if I may,
Tom,
if Jackie can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe in the R2NC, an ADU requires a special exception approval.
That's correct.
So
That's
that would
also true,
be,
yeah.
that would be a second step. So this applicant or any future owner applicant would have to come back before this board to garner an ADU approval.
but the special exception criteria do not include not just for financial gain.
That's okay, and hardship.
There's-
Right,
there's-
they're really two separate questions, so.
Correct.
So this
Certainly, it's not a, we're grappling with the implementation of the ADU legislation ourselves. We really were not that involved in, unfortunately, in the final draft of the final legislation that was approved by the city council. So,
I'm just worried that we're
yes,
creating a roadmap for people to avoid the financial criteria for variances if we don't address this. And so I encourage you to talk to Mr. Malinoff or counsel for the board, and we can hear what they have to say when we.
I will
together.
email him tonight or tomorrow morning about it and say we have another topic to discuss. Thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin or Mr. Smith?
Mr. Chairman, I'm so sorry. I need to circle back on the uniqueness criteria. I had asked about the reference to the driveway in the staff report. If either Kevin or Mr. Smith could explain that uniqueness aspect to me, I'd appreciate it.
So there is a driveway that runs between my house and the house adjacent to me. As you get to the back of the driveway, you can either go left or right to my neighbor's garage or my garage. Now, the garages are both very similar, my neighbor's and mine. They're both 24 by 24 garages. However, the gable on my roof on my garage is the opposite of my neighbor's. Therefore, the dormers for my garage will face my backyard, whereas the dormers, if my neighbor were to put dormers, they would actually face the driveway. So had my garage been the situation of my neighbors, I actually could have put stairs in the yard and wouldn't have needed a variance. But the way my roof is, I mean, as far as I know, it's the only of the four, it's the only one that's like this. That is why I have to, unfortunately, put my stairs on the back side of the garage, because the way that the gable was put up on my garage, again, it's the opposite of my neighbors. Did you understand? I'm not sure if you understood how I explained that, but it's the only option.
I understand, but I'm not really sure what that has to do with the driveway.
So my only options to put stairs, but the way my gable is, would be, obviously I can't put the stairs in the driveway. So the only other because that's the only other option would be the opposite side of the garage, which would be the back side corner.
So it's more of an issue with the building than with the land.
I guess I would say both. I mean, the situation of the garage on the site, it's the only spot the garage could have gone on the site originally in order to be able to get a car into the garage. But also the way the roof is built on the garage, it leaves no alternative for putting the steps elsewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, just again, not to be an issue, but the first condition still, we've talked about uniqueness. I also look at we always, when it comes to the first condition, we balance the hardship versus mere inconvenience definition. And I'm still having a hard time seeing how this is not more than a mere inconvenience.
Well, that's what we'll address in our deliberations, isn't it? Okay. So unless there are any other questions for Kevin or Mr. Smith, we will close the hearing record in this case, except for any public comments that might come in between now and the 19th. So we'll continue till the 19th. We'll consider any comments, consider anything that either Mr. Smith or the city wants to add relating to the step transaction issue, the financial criteria. And then we'll conduct our deliberations and make our decision on the 19th. Mr. Smith, thank you very much. And thanks, Kevin, for your preparation and your conciseness. And so we can excuse Mr. Smith. Look forward to bringing this to a close on the 19th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So any other business? If our next meeting is January 19th, and if Jackie comes up with something else for us, we'll deal with that. But otherwise, we'll have.
You were going to discuss your annual report.
Oh yeah, great, good, thank
And
you.
are we supposed to quickly read it?
Well, I've just, I sent the version that I sent you when I just sent you a little while ago was not, I hadn't cleaned up the edits because I couldn't get into my workspace, but the content has not changed, but I have now cleaned up, all of the edits. So it follows, I mean, the projects are all listed, are all based on the minutes. Part of what we submit to the, to Regina when we send in the annual reports is a complete set of minutes from 2021. And that will, right now with the set does not include the last two meetings because you hadn't approved those yet. So we'll be fixing that also.
Jackie, let me interrupt you.
Okay.
This time might be better spent if we let Nadine quickly read through the draft.
Okay. I'm just getting ready to send the edited version, but
That's okay.
Just the same. Like, sorry.
Jackie, did you send that to everyone?
I did. I'm sending it again. What time is it?
It's close to 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Did you get it, Michael?
I did get it, Bob, yes.
Okay, I thought I included you, Mr. Dews, but I could have gotten RAD. Okay, Dews. Sending it one more time.
Okay, thank you.
There it comes.
Rob, you may want to text her your other email address. She might be using the old one.
Who didn't get it?
Yeah, I still haven't received it. I think my email address, this has been an ongoing problem from initially, there was a 0 missing. And I think some of you still have the old one, but usually I get yours, Jackie.
So you didn't get it just then?
When I checked 2 seconds ago, no.
Okay, I'm gonna re-forward it. So what am I,
Oh,
what is
no, I have
wrong
it. I
about?
have it. It did come
Oh,
through. I have
okay.
it. Yep.
It's like a report card for us, which days we cut class.
So I've reviewed it, Mr. Chairman, and it looks fine with the caveat that I don't have the opportunity to double check the cases.
I've gone in and checked
But I
all the
have
cases,
faith in
Nadine.
Jackie.
No, if we approve it, it'll be subject to, I'll hold off signing it for a couple of days. So if there are any errors, you all can get back.
Good, yeah, that was my concern too.
Yeah, I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm fine
Bob, do
with
you
both.
want me to change the signature to you, to the same one you're using on opinions where it's you on behalf of the board?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay,
And so for each of you guys, if you see anything you think's a problem, let us know in the next couple of days and we'll hold
Okay.
off signing it until at least the end of the week. As long as we get it to the council before the 15th, we're good.
Right.
All right, we need a motion and a second.
I move to adjourn.
Oh, no, to approve the report.
Oh, to approve the.
Subject,
I move to approve the annual report.
subject to any corrections that might be necessary.
Yes, yes.
Second, all in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Nadine's raring to go. Go ahead, Nadine.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
All right, Rob.